What is up, everybody? Today is going to be a good day. We've got the A45 on axle stands, and that only means one thing: we're going to do some upgrades. Behind me we've got the exhaust from Urban Exhaust. Now Richard, he reached out to me because he actually did the exhaust for the Audi TT. That was my second video ever on the channel, so if you haven't seen that, go back and see the difference. And he noticed that I had the A45 now and reached out on Instagram and said, would you like one for the A45? So we've got a full titanium blue catback exhaust going on today. He actually did something super special for me. He put the brand logo on the exhaust and it looks crazy. I've got some tools to make my life easier. We've got the Beta exhaust hanger pliers and a cordless ratchet from Makita. Let's try them and let's see how quick we can get this off. Someone on YouTube said this is a 10-minute dismantle of the exhaust. I don't know, but let's see. Here, that one needs to come out, and that one, and then the same on the other side, and then this whole piece should come off. Getting started on the under tray, there's a couple of bolts and then these small plastic tabs. I realised after the fact that there's a small one that goes into the big one, and if you got a screwdriver and pull the inside out first, then it comes out way easier with the trim remover tool. This gave me better access to the bolts for the brace, but I still needed to go back and take a few more of the trim pieces out so the under tray was a bit easier to pull down, and I could access the last two bolts. There's three on each side, and one goes quite far to the outside of the car. It's worth noting that the more trim parts you take off in the first place, the easier it's going to be to access the brace and the three bolts on each side. So now this moves, it's just this piece, or this bolt, and it's connected to this rubber hanger. So I'm thinking I'll get the pliers on that. This is the clamp at the front. Not sure how to get these two pieces out the hangers yet, but I'm going to release this bolt, and the only thing left is the hangers at the back. To loosen this, I used a 14mm through socket, and it looks like there's two bolts, one here and one here, and that looks like it's holding this hanger in, so I'm going to loosen them and see if we can get it off. There is no way that is a 10-minute dismantle. I would love to see the guy that said it's 10 minutes try that, because it took me a lot longer. It wasn't difficult, but there was some awkward bolts. But as you can see, it's on the floor there. We have the new exhaust here. I'm gonna lay them out. It's a little bit awkward. I don't want to put it out and then someone come and have to move a car or something because there's loads of pieces. But I'm gonna try and put them side by side so we can see the difference. And then we're gonna get putting the new one on the car. I've quickly laid them out on the floor, side by side, just roughly, so you can compare. So there's a few differences. We've got one valve on the OEM, and we've got two on the Urban exhaust. I didn't show it on video, but there is a socket pipe that you have to take off there, so that should be easy to screw back on. There is a small resonator on this one, and quite a large one on the OEM. Here are the two valves. So one's off the original, that side, and the other one came with the kit. And then this is the cable that's going to split the original valve into two so we can control both. The only thing that I haven't taken off is this exhaust hanger here. That one's off. And then we're going to swap it all onto this exhaust. But I'm going to put this back underneath the car over here just in case people need to drive in and out. And then we're going to start putting it back together. I've swapped over the exhaust hanger from here to here. I've added this one. They literally just push on but I don't know how I did the TT without these. If you're going to do an exhaust, definitely get a pair of these, because that one was really difficult to get off. But we managed with these. So I'm going to put these two pieces in first, and then they should hold themselves on their hangers, and then we're going to tackle the back box after that. Swapping the valves over was super easy. Here I'm just taking off the nut from the bolt. There's 3 on each side. When I put the valve controller in, I make sure the spring is in line with the groove, because that's what is going to open and close the valve. And then replacing the nut and bolt that we took out previously, tighten them up with a small ratchet just to make sure they're not too over tighten, and finally push the exhaust hangers on. Now it's time for the first part of the exhaust to go in. There's 2 screws poking up that make it nice and easy to locate the exhaust hanger and where it should be. I then put the 2 bolts on just by hand, don't tighten them up, just so the nuts are on. The one on the right is a little bit awkward, so just persevere with it. So I've got this clamp back on, wasn't too difficult. I did wear gloves because it feels like it could scratch you. These 2 screws weren't too hard at all to put this on with the exhaust hanger. I tightened up my hand, I just managed to get my fingers in there and just wound them on. And then this one is fine, this one does need tightening up. I'm going to see if I can find something a bit easier. At the minute I've got this resting on the impact driver. There's a brace to go in here, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the tricky brace back on, because that is what the next piece screws the rubber hanger into. So that will hold this up and the next piece. So I'm going to get that on next, and then this piece will connect to that. This is the brace. You'll see it. There is one way of putting it. Before I had it this bit over here. Now it's where the exhaust will be. The only thing to note is there is 2 different types of bolts. The short ones go in here and the next holes, that one and that one, and then the longer ones, or the little knob on the end, go in the furthest on the outside. The reason I figured that out was because these ones have got a different thread and they won't thread in to this. However, these will thread into that one. So yeah, just to note that. I'm gonna tighten these up, get all 6 bolts in. The middle section of the exhaust has this hanger. I've already put the rubber piece on and the brace is attached to the car. There's a little notch in the brace that lines up on the hanger. You'll see it once you get there. And just make sure that the clamp on the left hand side you can see here is already on the other piece of the exhaust, because otherwise you're going to be taking it off. The hanger is secured with a nut that you can see me putting on now, and then I'm just finger tightening the clamp just to snug it up. As you'll see in a minute, I put this piece on and I had to take it off. The reason for that is I couldn't fit the back box on with this pipe attached. So make sure you attach it to the back box and then put it all in as one piece. Again, make sure all the clamps are on, otherwise you're going to be taking it off again. I'm not sure on the proper technique here, but I'm using my knees to support the back box as I screw in the 2 hangers attaching the back box to the car. Now, while the exhaust was laid out on the floor, I did point out a part on this pipe that I didn't manage to catch on camera. Here, I'm just tightening up the tube that attaches to that. It's a socket and I didn't go crazy tight with it. Now this is the part I started getting a bit confused. As you can see, I'm trying to put the exhaust tips on, but something's not quite right. So I moved on to the cables for the valves, which, as with the Audi, were a little bit trickier than anticipated, but we'll get onto that in a minute. The car is back on the ground. Before we do the first start, I haven't wired the valves in because I'm going to have to go over the heat shield, and I think that means I'm going to have to take the bumper off, something like that, to do that. But the other thing is the tips that came with the exhaust look like they're going to come out to here, and these are the fake ones from AMG. Now I thought that it was going to stop behind. I've tried to get these off, and it looks like you have to take this rear diffuser off in order to take them off. So I'm going to look into that, but I want to do a first start, see how it sounds.
It is the next day. Now, I have been back underneath, and what I've done is block the valves open, because the first start from yesterday was, I'm pretty sure, the valves closed because the controllers weren't plugged in, but the controllers were on. So I've gone back in, taken the valve controllers off, and then blocked them open. So this is the first start, valves open. It does sound a little bit different, so I'm excited to drive it. We're gonna go wash the car now and then head to the gym, and I'll let you know how it goes. The exhaust has been on for about a week now and it's starting to bed in. The mufflers are starting to pop again, and it definitely has a deeper sound, especially when I first started it up. You could notice it a bit deeper. What has been bugging me is the tips aren't on. So what I'm thinking today, like we did with the Audi, we're gonna do a bumper delete. Well, not bumper delete, we're gonna do the diffuser delete and then get the tips on so we can finish it off and just drive it around without a diffuser for a little bit. Let's get started.
To take this off, it looks like it's in three or four parts. 2 bits in the end, one there, one on this side. The lower bit with a couple of screws in, and then the main diffuser, which is held on by clips behind here. So I'm going to take this bit off. You see what it looks like without that piece? It's literally just screws all the way along and then 3M tape on the bits under the exhaust. Okay, so I'm going to take these 3 bolts out. Looks like there's quite a lot of rivets, so I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to remove all of this.
These are the clips from the start of the video. I realise now that you can get a screwdriver, pop the inside out, and then it comes out way easier. I tried everything with these clips to try and get this piece off. Screwdriver, trim remover tools. There was a lot of rocks in there, and I don't know if that contributed to how hard it was to get off, but in the end, I just gave up. Now what I did find easy was separating this small part from the main diffuser. And what you're going to find out later in the video is because this car was wrapped, whoever dismantled it damaged a few things when taking it apart. After giving up on the small piece, I moved on to removing the main part of the diffuser. Remembering from the Audi, this was pretty tricky. Getting all those little tabs out, using the screwdriver, quite a lot of force, and the first part came out really nice, and then I got stuck midway, and I just couldn't figure it out.
So we've got this off so far. What I've realised is, this car's obviously wrapped because this is yellow. Someone who took this bumper off and wrapped the car has glued it back in. It looked like they've snapped that and tried to glue it back. And then this is actually glued on. So we could be in a bit of a mess, but we're going to get it off and then see what we can do, or what we're dealing with. I might have to drill these rivets out to get this off, just so I can get a bit easier access. I think I'll do that now. Go, piece off. Now we have more access. So you can see someone's definitely had to go with this. And there you can see the glue on these tabs. And then that completely snapped off, and that's what they've tried to do. Fabulous. So, this diffuser is 100% coming off because in that box we have a nice new one, carbon fibre one. But now I know this, I'm definitely not keeping it on. The next part I'm going to do is take off that bolt, which is this hanger. Now I thought this one was bad, but come over to this one, not only is it snapped at the back, but they've snapped off all that. So I think to make this, no, to fix it, let's just take it all off, see what we've got that needs replacing, and then replace all the bits that we need to replace, because that's not on, is it?
The hangers came out nice and easy, just those 2 bolts. Now I'm working my way around the diffuser and all the glued in clips. Tried to like peel them off with a screwdriver, but we got there in the end. I've got it off. It was really tricky. Half of it was glued on. Right, a bunch of these were glued on. You can kind of see the tab that was glued there. But what's happened is they'd mashed up these tabs and then put glue on it and made it really awkward for me to get off. Luckily, I've got a brand new one. Eventually that'll be put on. But for now, I'm just gonna take the exhaust tips off if I can, and then have the urban exhaust ones poking out. So the same as what we had with the TT. We didn't have the carbon diffuser, we just had the exhaust tips. But this is what it looks like with the exhaust tips. They're riveted on, so we'd have to have taken the bumper off or the diffuser off anyway. The only bit of damage that I think, actually, this doesn't even look damaged. It just looks like they've tried to glue the hanger that was on here into here. So it might just be replacing this hanger, which won't be too bad. It's a little piece of plastic. I'm going to drill these rivets out, get the tips off. There's the exhaust. How cool does that look? It's going to be crazy with the tips coming at the back. All right, you can see a bit of the yellow, but it's what it is. Once they're off, we're going to get the new tips on. The blue ones, they're going to look crazy. Tell you what, these tips, they carry a bit of weight.
That's the tips, quite chunky. There you go. Looks crazy with the sticker and the titanium now. We've just got to get these side pieces off. These pieces, this top piece connects all the way up the back into the bumper. What I'm going to try and do is take it off first, off these 3 pieces, which this one's really, I'm struggling. But then I'm hoping this back piece, which is the glossy bit you see on the outside, comes off, and then we'll see what happens with the rest of it. Not really see it, but there is a sneaky rivet just here. So I'm going to see how I can get to that to drill it out. Maybe it's unbuttoning. These are, there's, you can see there's one. So I can get to that one. I'll probably drill that out. And that'll take this whole plastic piece off, which is going to hang down, so that's good. I drilled this one out. And the one up here, just there, there is another one just at the back there. So 1, 2, 3. One at the top, one at the bottom, one in the middle. And then this piece on the inside should come off with this. This whole piece is from this little bit on the car. The bumper goes sort of inside it, and it's held on by 3 rivets. But there we go, we're off on this side. One last piece, and then we can get the tips on the exhaust.
I took that piece off camera. It's the same as the other side, just drilling the rivets out. Here I'm lowering the exhaust off the hangers just to get the tips on, and I had to modify the heat shield a little bit. So there's one bolt, and then I bent it around the back just to give me some more clearance so the exhaust doesn't touch it once it's installed. Clamps going on. So at this point in the install, none of the clamps are properly tightened. They're just making sure the exhaust is staying in place. Once I'm happy how everything sits and the exhaust hangers are tight, then I'm going to go back and tighten everything back from the cap all the way to the back of the car. So as you can see here, the exhaust tip is still touching the heat shield. So after securing the exhaust on the two hangers, I went back, bent back the heat shield a little bit more, and then secured it in place with the screw that I took out previously. Once I was happy it wasn't going to touch or rattle, I then moved on to the other side and did the same thing. The tips are on, the diffuser is off. Actually looks pretty cool. So don't buy wrapped cars because this was all glued in and it ended up snapping off. There's a few over here. So I'm gonna have to take that out before we get the new diffuser on, but I don't know, maybe if you shaved all the yellow bits off, it could look quite cool without it. I'm not gonna do that to this car because in there we have got a carbon diffuser. Looks really, really cool. For the third time, this is going to be a first start. So the first start with the new tips on. Even with the OEM catalytic converter, the new exhaust has a much deeper tone than stock. I can only imagine what the 200cc sports cat from Urban Exhaust will sound like when I put it on. This car is going to be crazy. If you like this video and you want to see more of this build and where we're going to take it, then make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.